Can you tell me a little bit about your purpose and values or your why?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I would say my purpose and why that I tell myself, because
Mhm.
obviously I ask myself all the time, like, why am I doing this? And I get a new answer. But the one that that is the most compelling for me, my why, is I see my role as, and the phrase I use is relieving pressure. Like I want to relieve pressure from other people. Like I want it to be so that when I walk into a room or when I give feedback or when I respond to that email, that the person receiving my email or the person um, seeing me walk in the room would be like, oh, like get like a sigh, like, oh, I'm so glad Emily's here. Like, and just to relieve pressure from the recipient's day or the recipient's challenge. And
Yeah.
so, what I find for me that relieves pressure is when someone listens to me.
Hmm.
So sometimes as simple as just listening,
Hmm.
and repeating, like when I have the urge to give an answer to someone, like to solve their problem, because the more senior you get, the more people just come to you with problems. Um, and I might think I know the answer because I've been there. I
Hmm.
find that what makes me feel better about those interactions is when instead I just focus on, okay, relieve pressure. Just relieve
Hmm.
pressure. That's my why. Like the reason I'm here is to relieve pressure. So I think the world would be a better place, like all of us. I think every human being on this planet, we would all be better if we didn't feel so pressurized all the time. Like we didn't feel if we all felt like we had more maneuvering room to just be ourselves and to think twice before acting, and to reflect. And I think we instead find ourselves with knee jerk reactions, with scrolling very quick, or we're distracted, and we don't make the best decisions at the end of the day.
Hmm.
And so, and we find ourselves in sticky, awkward situations
Yeah.
that had we slowed down a little bit, been more deliberate, if someone had listened to us, I think we would be happier and healthier.
Yeah.
So I I would say that's my why, is
Mm.
to relieve pressure. And that's true for parenting. You know, I've got an 11-year-old and a 13-year-old, and no piece of advice that I give them is ever going to be just, they'll be perfect enough that's going to make them, oh, okay, mom, I'll do that. Like,
Right. Hmm.
I do sometimes get a little bit nostalgic and jealous when I hear people say, "Oh, my mama always told me," and they have something really compelling. I'm like, "Oh, I'm not that good." Like, I don't like I don't have like these great isms that,
Yeah.
and sometimes I'm like, man, what would my kids ever say that their mama always told them?
I'm sure there's plenty.
You know what? It's funny. I'm like a little bit afraid to ask, but I'm like, I don't think I have any. My mom always told me stories, because at least what think, and who knows, all of us have a delta between what we think we are and how we're perceived in this world.
True.
But what I like to think is that when my kids come to me with problems, I'm just grateful they're coming to me with a problem. Like I'm just like
Mhm.
grateful they're talking about it. And so I just try to relieve pressure and just listen to them more and just say, yeah, that is tough. And
Mhm.
try to be an 11-year-old and try to be an 11-year-old girl, in middle school who has to deal with other middle school girls, or, a 13-year-old eighth grader who has to try to figure out where to go to high school next year, and how to get along with other boys and, other girls. And so I think everywhere in my life, whether it's a volunteer position, or whether it's with my friends, or whether it's in a leadership position, I think that's what I value, and that's my purpose
Yeah.
is. And I do it, one, because I think the world would be a better place if we all tried to relieve pressure from each other and judge each other a little bit less. But also I want people to do it for me, right?
Yeah.
I really
Mhm.
I So I think it's partly selfish. It's partly selfish that I do that, is because I have this such a negative voice in my head about things that I could have done better, or that come across wrong, or I get myself in sticky, awkward situations. And
Mhm.
then I go, "Oh, don't judge. I just hear I meant well." And so
Mhm.
just give me some maneuvering room.
Yeah.
So I guess I try to be that for others, hoping I would get that from them.